Right now, try something. Don't talk. Easy, right? Now keep doing that until tomorrow, then next week, then next month, then for an entire year. No hello, no thank you, no answering the phone, no singing in the shower. And if you step on a Lego at 3 a.m., you suffer in silence. For 365 days, you can still text, write, point, laugh, and communicate however you want. There's only one rule, not one word. At first, this might actually feel peaceful, but eventually something strange would happen. Your conversations would change. Your relationships would change. Even the way you think about your own voice could change. And after an entire year without speaking, what would happen when you finally open your mouth? Would your voice sound the same? Would speaking feel natural? Or could you actually forget how to talk? Let's start with day 1. The first few hours would probably feel like a vacation for your mouth. Someone says, "Good morning," you wave. Someone asks, "How are you?" Thumbs up, perfect. This is easy until you leave the house. You walk into a cafe, the cashier asks what you want. You point at the menu, they ask what size. You point again, they ask your name. You pull out your phone, and suddenly ordering one coffee has become a hostage negotiation. That's when you discover something. You speak constantly, not necessarily long conversations. Tiny things. Yeah, no, thanks, sorry, wait, what? Move. We use these little words almost automatically. Take them away, and everyday life becomes surprisingly complicated. But physically, after one day, your voice isn't going anywhere. Your vocal folds don't forget their job overnight, so day 1 is mostly inconvenient. Then comes week 1. By now, you've developed strategies. Need something? Point. Someone asks a question? Type it. Someone tells a terrible joke? You can still give them the disappointed stare they deserve, but something else begins happening. You start listening differently. Think about a normal conversation. While another person is talking, we're often already preparing our response. They're telling you about their vacation, and your brain is standing behind the starting line like, okay, when is it my turn? But now, there is no turn. You aren't going to speak, so you just listen. And suddenly you notice things. How often people interrupt each other. How often people repeat themselves. How many conversations are just two people waiting for the other person to stop talking. And there's another strange effect. People may start telling you more because silence makes many people uncomfortable. Imagine sitting across from your friend. They say, "I've been having a pretty bad week." Normally you might immediately respond, "Why?" But now you just look at them. 3 seconds pass, then 5. And because you haven't filled the silence, they continue. Actually, there's something I haven't told anyone. Suddenly, your silence isn't stopping the conversation. It's creating space for it. But there's a problem. You may be listening better while becoming much harder to talk to. And after a few weeks, that starts to matter. Month 1. You go to a friend's birthday. Someone says something funny. Everyone laughs. You laugh too. Then someone asks, "So what have you been doing?" You grab your phone, unlock it. Start typing, make a typo, delete it, type again, finally show them. But the conversation has already moved on. This would probably become one of the biggest frustrations of your experiment. Speech is fast, writing isn't. And conversation isn't just about words. It's timing, tone, volume, sarcasm, whispering something stupid to your friend without everyone else hearing. Even a simple "look out" becomes difficult when you're not allowed to speak. You can absolutely communicate without using your voice. Millions of people communicate in different ways every day. But if you're accustomed to spoken conversation and suddenly remove it, your normal social habits have to change. Some friends would adapt. Others might find conversations more difficult. And eventually, you might start thinking, "It's easier if I just stay home." And that would be dangerous because now you're no longer testing silence. You're testing isolation. Those are completely different things. You can stop speaking and still have friends. You can text, write, gesture, spend time with family, go outside, be around people. But if silence causes you to withdraw from everyone, then loneliness becomes the bigger problem. So let's say you avoid that. You remain social. You keep communicating. You just don't speak. Which brings us to the question you've probably been waiting for. What's happening to your actual voice? Month 3. To produce one simple sentence, your body performs a ridiculous amount of coordination. Your lungs provide airflow. Your vocal folds vibrate. Your tongue moves. Your lips move. Your jaw moves. Your brain controls the whole performance. And normally, you practice this every single day. Thousands and thousands of little movements. Now, almost none. But that doesn't mean your throat has simply shut down. Your vocal folds aren't some pair of headphones that permanently stop working because you left them in a drawer. The structures involved in producing your voice also have other important functions. You're still breathing. You're still swallowing. You're still coughing when necessary. And you may still make non-speech sounds depending on the rules of our experiment. What you've removed is regular speaking, and after months without practicing something so automatic, using it again could feel strange, but your brain hasn't forgotten language. You're still reading, you're still writing, you're still hearing people speak, you're still thinking. You know exactly what you want to say, you just aren't saying it aloud. And strangely, by now, you may not miss talking as much as you expected. Month 6, half a year. At this point, reaching for your phone instead of answering someone might be automatic. Your friends don't even wait for a spoken response anymore. Someone asks, "Pizza?" You nod. "Pineapple?" You slowly shake your head and reconsider the friendship. Silence has become normal, and something else may have changed. You're probably much more aware of what is actually worth saying. Think about how many things we say just because silence feels awkward. Elevator, talk about the weather. Waiting room, complain about how long it's taking. Someone says something you disagree with, respond immediately. But you've spent 6 months without that option. Every response has a cost now. You have to type it, write it, gesture it. So before communicating something, you have more time to ask, do I actually need to say this? Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes absolutely not. You might become more deliberate, maybe more patient, maybe a better listener, or maybe after 6 months you're just desperately waiting to scream into a pillow. Either way, you still have 6 months left. Month 11. Now something strange happens. You're almost finished, and suddenly you're thinking about your voice constantly, because for the first time in nearly a year, you're about to hear it again. You probably remember what you sounded like. But memory is weird. Think about hearing an old recording of yourself. That's my voice. Now imagine not hearing yourself speak for 365 days. What will that first sound feel like? Will your voice crack? Will it be weak? Will the words come out normally? You decide what your first sentence will be. Something meaningful, something worthy of an entire year of silence. You practice it inside your head. And finally, day 365. Everyone is watching. The clock reaches 0. For the first time in a year, you're allowed to talk. You inhale. Your brain knows the sentence. Your mouth knows the movements. And you speak. It probably wouldn't be some movie scene where you've mysteriously forgotten language. You haven't erased English from your brain, and your vocal folds haven't vanished. But after such an extreme period without normal spoken conversation, using your voice could feel unfamiliar and may take some adjustment. And hearing yourself again, that might be the strangest part. For an entire year, your voice existed mostly as a memory. Now suddenly, it's in the room. But maybe the biggest thing you've learned has nothing to do with your throat. For 365 days, you've discovered how much of human life depends on tiny conversations. Good morning. How are you? Thank you. I missed you. Be careful. I love you. Things so ordinary that we barely notice them until we can't say them anymore. And after one entire year of carefully deciding which thoughts are worth communicating, everyone waits for your first great sentence. You open your mouth, you look at your friends, and you say, okay, whose idea was this?